Happy Pride, everyone. So, this is the start of my 6th month on estrogen, which is how I'm measuring my transition. Not counting the 3 weeks prior to that, where I was just on Spiro and blocking my testosterone, because it was more hormone removal therapy at that point than it was hormone replacement therapy. So I'm going to do this video a little differently than I have been doing them in the past. I'm going to actually start with my personal medical news first, and then we'll do the ranting, because I don't think anyone listens to my ranting anyway. I think you all just skip ahead. So, in my last transition update video, I was talking about wondering if my testosterone was actually getting too low because I was getting really tired. No, it is not getting too low. It actually went back up since the last time I had my levels checked, and actually it just barely crept outside of the normal female range, which I'm like, damn you, T, stay down. We don't want you here. We've had enough. The concerning thing to me about that is that my endocrinologist didn't feel the need to mention that to me, and I only found out when I was looking at the numbers myself, and I'm like, hey, we need to talk about this. But the good news is that my prolactin level is dropping, so we're not thinking that I'm at a major risk for a brain tumor, so that's always a good time. My endocrinologist wants to keep everything exactly the same and see where I am in another month. So we'll see what happens. So in terms of my name change and gender marker being corrected on all of my documents, actually by the day this goes up, I will be going to my doctor. Apparently, and I don't know how correct this is because it doesn't sound correct to me, HIPAA says, and that's for those non-US people watching the video, HIPAA is the laws that govern how doctors are allowed to handle and disseminate your medical information. So they say that my doctor cannot discuss my medical condition outside of her office, which doesn't sound correct because I can sign a waiver and she can talk about my medical stuff with anyone. That's how I get my prescriptions. That's literally that mechanism. But according to my doctor, I have to bring the notary to her, which is a real pain in the ass because you have to find a notary who's willing to go there and synchronize the schedules of 3 people, me, my doctor, and the notary. And I'm like, and this is only for New York State to correct my birth certificate, the gender marker on my birth certificate. And I'm like, why do you have a higher requirement than the federal government to update my gender marker when New York City has no requirement for a doctor to be involved at all and allows non-binary genders in the form of an X? And I'm like, what are you doing, New York? Come on. We still have to have a notary go to your doctor to get a letter to change the gender marker. Are you kidding me? And I know I've said this before, but what exactly is the scam? Nobody changes their gender marker because they want to. They change their gender marker because they have no other choice. It's just exhausting because and this is it. Once I have these letters in my hand, I'll be able to update my social security, I'll be able to update my birth certificate, and I'll be able to correct my passport. So that'll be it on the gender marker side of things, and consequently the name change side of things. But why are they putting up all these extra roadblocks between me and getting this done? Who are they protecting? What is the scam that I could possibly do? And how do I do it? So yeah, it's a little frustrating, but it's one of those things where I don't have the energy or the time to fix the system. I just need to get what I need done so that I can move forward and then be in a position to actually address that problem long term for everyone else that comes after me. Y'all are welcome. The good news is that it's accomplishable and it's nearing the end and I'm getting there and I'm getting what I need and I should be thankful for that. I wish it wasn't as ridiculous as it is, but I can't fix that today and I just need to get through and do what I need to do to get myself taken care of. But oh my god, it's the most frustrating thing ever. But that is it on the legal side of things, and sort of medical because it ties in. But yeah, so I'm doing pretty well. Today I received in the mail the title for my car. So now the loan on my car, the title, the registration, the insurance, and the insurance policy all match my driver's license, which is correct. So everything automotive is taken care of. That whole thing is done. I could be updating my credit cards now, I'm trying not to because a lot of them tie back to my checking account, which I'm not sure how it's tied with my social security, and I just want to get that done before I do anything else so I can just go. And maybe I'm screwing myself where I won't have access to my credit cards for a month. So I hope that all goes okay. I don't know what I'm doing, but I don't see anything anywhere that really would suggest that it wouldn't be okay. I don't know, it's a little awkward handing over my ID with my correct name and then handing over my credit card with the wrong one, and it's like, whose is this? Like, I haven't had a problem, but it's one of those like, this is uncomfortable kind of things. Actually, I had an interesting experience where I had to explain the concept of a middle name to someone. I went to use my ID at a store, and they had to type it into the system, and they're like, wait, why do you have two first names? And I'm like, I don't have two first names, what are you talking about? And they're like, well, it says your last name and then a name, comma, another name. And I'm like, huh. And I've had to say my name is Mia a lot of times, and that's really super validating and everything, but for some reason I don't normally get to say this, so I was really excited to be like, my middle name is Claire. I don't know, it's just kind of exciting to get to use like another part of my name. But I was like, yeah, so my full name is Mia Claire, last name. And they were like, oh, it with a comma makes it look like two different names. And I'm like, I don't know how that would make more sense than a middle name, but okay, sure. In defense of this kid, first of all, he's a kid. Second of all, he was working like a holiday weekend. Like, I understand it's a rough time. At that point, he's lucky if he remembers his own name. So yeah, it was a little frustrating, but like, I gotta say, this was far, far, far less uncomfortable than it was before when I was in a dress handing over an ID that says male and looks like a guy. And it was like, you're just gonna have to take this on faith because I wouldn't give you this ID if I was faking it. I'm sorry, this is not a prank. This is my ID. This is who I used to be. Please don't make a thing of it, please. So that's a lot better now. It's so nice being able to hand over an ID that actually matches who I am and who I'm presenting as and everything, so that has been awesome. I'm really happy that I did that. The other thing, I ordered a pair of shoes. So this year Converse is doing a bunch of Pride shoes, and for the first time ever, they're offering a trans design, which is super exciting to people in my community, of course. And I was super excited. I made a custom pair and everything. And at every point in this transaction, I set the ship to be my name, Mia. And everything was fine until I got the actual box where it says my dead name. And I'm like, okay. So I double checked everything, my PayPal, my actual order on Converse's website, and all the ship tos say Mia, so I don't understand why they use the bill to name on the ship to, on the shipment itself. I don't understand why you'd let me set a different ship to if you're just gonna use the bill to information. Like, they literally shipped the shoes to the wrong person, effectively. That's what happened. And like, they're trans pride. Like, I don't understand how that slipped through the cracks. Like, I get it. Yes, and someone in the comments will tell me, you need to update your PayPal profile. No, if the ship to says Mia, that's what should be shipped to. That's what a ship to is. Like, this is what I do professionally. I work on e-commerce. That's incorrect. I would get in trouble at my job if I did that. I just love the people that blame me for that. I'm like, no, this is wrong. This is wrong. Even if you just ignore the trans issue, this is literally shipped to the wrong person. If somebody bought this as a gift for someone else who lived in their house, they'd be like, oh, that's weird. I got a package with my name on it. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not okay, even just not on a trans level. Like, and then there's the trans level of like, cool, my trans pride item, dead name me. Thanks, Converse. I will say though that the shoes turned out awesome. So I decided to go with pink on both sides. It's got like trans colored trim and everything. There's a trans pride on the back. There's a pride flag on the bottom. It's just, I'm so happy with how these turned out. I'm really, really happy with them. It's just the dead naming, which kind of ruined the whole thing. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. But I bought these for a Pride event. I went to my first Pride parade ever. I wanted to go for years, especially last year. I was really excited to go, but I wasn't out yet and I couldn't really I was just gonna get sad being around other people that were out and not feeling like myself and not really feeling that I knew who I was or anything. But yeah, so I got to go to my first Pride event and it was super awesome. There was music and marching and chanting and, you know, protesting and everything. It was great. I was around people that are in my support group and I see all the time, but like in a different setting, which is always super fun and exciting. I just, you know, I felt so safe. I felt like other people around me understood and appreciated my struggle without me having to explain it. Yeah, I think it was really important. I'm really happy I went. So for Pride also, I got my hair done. I've got bangs now, so that's super exciting. I think they framed my face really well. I've actually got a scar up here and over my eyebrow from all the fun times in my childhood. And I think doing a side bang was definitely the way to go. I think it frames my face super well. I love it. I'm really happy with it. The people at the salon were so nice to me because they remember me from 9 months ago, and 9 months ago I made a sign on my phone that says I'm trans, and you know, because I wasn't presenting female or anything because I didn't look female. I hadn't really started my transition properly, and I was like, listen, I need a haircut that's gonna last me like 6 months and where I can try to look masculine or feminine depending on the situation. And they were so kind to me and so nice and just totally understood what I was going through without unicorning me. And you know, it was just really, really supportive. And now I've come back there 9 months later and they're like, ah! Again, not unicorning, not making a big deal out of it, but like they were clearly happy for me. I clearly felt like myself. And so I said to them, I'm like, listen, I trust you. Do whatever you want to do to my hair. I trust you, I want bangs, that's where I'm at. That's as far as I've gotten with this, I trust you. And they took care of me, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. But I was a little scared because I've never done this particular kind of hairstyle before. So I did take my new passport photo before getting the bangs done because I was like, if I hate this haircut, it's going to take time for me to like recover from that to a point where I can make it look okay for a photo again. So I wanted to have a photo ready to go, and I'm nearing the completion of that process, so I was like, let me do that. In a similar vein, I've scheduled my ear piercings, so I'm really looking forward to those as well. But I really don't want to have it interfere with anything else I've got going on, so it's after my next laser session, which is in a week. Now, the problem is that I've had problems with metals before. I've been tested by an allergist and I'm not actually allergic to any metals, so that's good to know. But apparently I'm definitely allergic to some industrial cleaner that they tend to use to clean metal. And I'm like, oh, but my allergist said that if they just rinse it off before they jab it into me, I should be okay. There's been incidents. I put on a metal watch one time for about 10 minutes and like 3 days later I had to go to the hospital because I was like weeping hives everywhere and it was a bad time. It was a really bad time. So I'm hoping nothing like that happens, but I do not want it to interfere with my laser at all, so I've got the laser scheduled before then. And then I've got Pride 2 weeks after that, so I'm hoping that if anything goes wrong, I'll have it cleared up by then. But we'll see. The Pride I'm referring to is City Pride, which is World Pride this year, and I'm going to be marching in it, so that's super exciting. I figured I'd hit it off hard now that I can actually go to Pride as my real self. So, woo! Making progress in my life. I also saw some of my extended family of choice that I haven't seen since Thanksgiving. And so that's pre-starting hormones and all that. So I was presenting female to them the last time that I saw them, but I wasn't on hormones yet, so I didn't quite have things in progress. So, you know, they were a little shocked to see me because anyone who looks back at me from 6 months ago is going to be like, what? Yeah, it's great. Like, I keep looking in the mirror and like every day I'm like, oh, hey, that's me. It's super exciting. I'm like really happy with all the changes that have happened so far. Of course, I wish I was done, of course, but like, you know, it's happening and that's what's important. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so the extended family choice that I hadn't seen since November. So in my group chat, I've actually got a nickname of Mia the Side Hugger because, you don't get this kind of progress in 6 months without some pain. And side hugs are pretty much the only kind of hugs that I can handle right now, and it's very depressing and it makes me sad, but it's also a good thing because pain is gain. So, yeah, anyway, so I said, oh, sorry, side hug, and did that, and they got to asking me, like, oh, did you get some work done? And this is a thing that keeps coming up in conversations about trans people and people asking me specifically this, and I don't understand why this is such a misconception. I don't really know why people don't know this. Of course, my favorite people that really don't know anything about this are the ones who scream at me, you need to learn about biology because trans isn't a thing. And I'm like, you don't know that trans women who go on hormone replacement therapy grow their own breasts. Like, how do you think cis women grow breasts? It's estrogen, which I am stabbing into myself every 2 weeks. What did you think would happen? It's just like a super common thing that everybody thinks that implants are the way to go, and for a lot of us, yes, that is what ended up happening. Like, some trans women get implants, yes, but some trans women take hormones and grow their own breasts, and that's what I'm doing. So, yeah, I grew these are mine. Like, I didn't have work done. These are me working all the time, continuously for 6 months with estrogen flowing through me. This is epigenetics and hormones. Like, I don't know what else to say about this. And they're not done yet. Like, I'm 6 months into my transition. It's gonna take the better part of 5 years. Like, I also got into this very, very long argument on Facebook, and I don't normally do this anymore because it's just pointless. Like, you never win a Facebook fight. There's no such thing as winning a Facebook fight. Even if you feel that you've won, the other person does not. That's just how it works. And honestly, when it comes to people who are ignorant about, like, LGBT issues, you generally don't expect to actually make any progress. And maybe that's a little pessimistic of me, but honestly, that's what seems to be the case every time that I have these kinds of interactions. But in this particular case, for emotional reasons, I decided that I was going to actually engage with this person. And I had a 3-day-long conversation back and forth, commenting with this person. And I realized that the way that I talk about trans issues is actually a bit too high level for people that don't understand what trans is in the first place. So I'm gonna break it down as basically as possible and probably end up clipping this out and saving it as like an unlisted video so that every time I have to explain this, I can just send them this video. Maybe I'll put a link in the description if that's what I end up doing. But like, okay, so let's start from the basic biology because people love to beat you over the head with that one. Not knowing anything about biology themselves past an elementary school level, so definitely the people you want to be talking to about this. Most people have either 2 X chromosomes or an X and a Y chromosome. There are more exotic cases, but for the purposes of this discussion, we will not be discussing them today. Now, what most people don't understand is that those chromosomes do not exclusively determine the sex of a person. Most trans people do anatomically at birth match their sex chromosomes. We'll concede that point for the purposes of this discussion. Gender, however, is a completely different thing. Now, most people are what we refer to as cisgender, meaning that their sex matches their gender. A trans person is a person whose sex does not match their gender. So what do I mean by gender? So basically there are structural differences in the brain that for a cis person generally line up with their sex. But for a trans person, they do tend to align more correctly with their experienced gender identity. So basically, what we're saying is female brain, boy parts. That's what happened. And of course, I was assigned male at birth because objectively, when I was born, I looked male. There's no way to really look at a brain at that age and determine, oh, actually this is a girl. Yet. We're working on it. And that's a bit of a slippery slope actually, because it's like, okay, well, if you can determine that this person has a gender that's misaligned with their sex, where does their choice factor into this? And there's like a whole thing about that, but we're not going into that today. So where do chromosomes fit in? So again, chromosomes do not necessarily determine sex, and sex does not necessarily determine gender. So therefore, chromosomes do not necessarily determine gender. For some reason, the group of people that tend to yell at us that we need to learn biology are really hung up on these chromosomes, and I don't understand why, because again, it's not an issue of chromosomes, it's an issue of sex versus gender. And again, I know that I've oversimplified this problem because I haven't even addressed the existence of non-binary or intersex people, but for the purposes of this discussion, we're talking about people who are assigned male at birth and have a female gender identity, and vice versa. So, I'm getting all worked up. I'm like getting angry. So that's it. That's the big scary trans thing. Like, seriously, it's just that my sex does not match my gender. Female brain, boy parts. That's the issue. That's the difference between a trans person and a cis person. There's not really much mystery here, is there? My other favorite group that I've been interacting with lately is the group of people that says, like, that somehow this is against God's will because, like, God doesn't make mistakes. I agree. God did not make a mistake by putting a female brain in a boy body. I agree. That was not God's mistake. We are going to have a discussion about it if I ever get the chance. But really, I feel like if there is a God, and if God had some direct role in my creation, then I feel that God made me to live this experience, to live as a trans person. I don't know why, and if you could explain it to me, I would love to know, but there it is. And the other thing that people always say is that gender dysphoria is a mental disorder. Okay, first of all, the World Health Organization just said it is not, so that's that. And when it was, here's the thing. Gender dysphoria is what happens because you are trans. You are not trans because you have dysphoria. That is not how it works. Gender dysphoria is what happens after you try to cope with the fact that you are trans. The fact that you have a brain that doesn't match your body. That's how it works. But regardless of whether or not it's a mental disorder, it does not matter. Because the correct treatment, since we can't fix the brain, mostly because there's nothing wrong with it, is to make the body match what the brain has, which fortunately we live in a time that we can actually try to do to some extent. So what transition means to each person is going to be a little different. For me, what it means is having the correct parts that match my gender. I want my brain to feel like it's living in the body that is correct for it. And frankly, since having gone full time, I feel great. I don't have as much dysphoria. I don't feel angry or depressed about my experiences because I feel like I'm in the body that is correct. I feel like people are perceiving me as what I actually am, and I feel comfortable. That's new. And for me, like, part of the problem with figuring out that I was trans in the first place was the fact that I couldn't get over that hurdle because I looked at myself in the mirror, and thanks to my dysphoria especially, I said, oh, well, this is obviously a male body. There's no way that I could be like a girl because I am not. And, well, sorry, I am. I am a woman. Like, that's how my brain is wired. That's who I am. In any case, my brain is clearly, as evidenced by 28 years of running on testosterone and then 6 months of running on estrogen, my brain is clearly designed to run on estrogen. And I feel more comfortable presenting female. It's just that simple. I don't want people to treat me like a guy because I'm not. That's not who I am. And this is where I say that it's validating to me that trans men exist because it works both ways. It's not like everyone wants to be a girl and there's no such thing as trans men. No, it works both ways. The actual mechanism for female brain, male parts, works the other way too. Male brain, female parts. Like, it happens. It's unfortunate, but we have to acknowledge that this is a thing that absolutely exists in biology because we are biological. And I'm just so sick of people, like, telling me that I need to learn biology when I know more about how my body works than they know about how theirs does. And I don't understand that. And my gender therapist says that I'm a little biased on that because weirdly I was obsessed with how puberty works because I felt like something was going desperately horribly wrong with mine. So I looked into it a lot. But the point is that, like, I just don't understand why people don't know basic biology about how puberty works. I think we need better sex ed. And the last thing I want to talk about in this ranting video today is I want to talk about sexuality a little bit. I don't usually talk about this on this channel, mostly because I don't feel that it's particularly relevant to me, or anyone's business, really. But it is Pride Month, and I do want to talk about the other part of coming out that happened when I came out as trans. It's super interesting to watch people slowly realize that I'm in a relationship with another woman, because they're like, wait, you're a woman, your partner's a woman, so you're gay now. And I'm like, well, actually, yeah, even if you misgender me, I'm gay. The biggest realization that happened since discovering that I am a transgender woman is that I figured out that that's why I had never been in a relationship with a guy before, because there was some reason, like I was attracted to men, I was romantically interested in men, but for some reason there was just a line in a relationship that I couldn't like cross to like be with a guy intimately, and I couldn't figure out what the problem was. And when I realized I am trans, I realized, oh, it's my parts that are the problem. I don't want to be in a relationship with a guy as a guy. Oh, I didn't really want to be in a relationship with a woman as a guy either, but like society told me that that was like supposed to work, so I was like, oh, I guess that's easier, and that's basically where I landed with it. Anyway, so in a previous video I said that I identified as pansexual, and I just don't think that that correctly describes my sexuality. The difference between bisexuality and pansexuality is that bisexuality, in the strictest definition of the term, which is not how most bisexuals use it, applies to men and women. That is not to say cis men and cis women, that also includes trans men and trans women. Where some people in this community disagree is on whether or not basically non-binary people count. A lot of bisexuals that I've spoken to about this issue feel that there is no exclusion in that. They're just like, I know that it says bi and that means two, but that's not what it means. Other people, such as myself, feel that I'd like to use a more inclusive term that I don't have to step up from to correctly describe my sexuality, so I identified as pansexual. Because I felt that like, I'm attracted to any gender, but that's actually not technically what pansexuality means. So there's this element of gender blindness that exists within the pansexual like definition, where like you look at a guy or a girl or a non-binary person and you feel nothing about their gender whatsoever. You don't even really necessarily notice it. You just, whatever, you'll figure it out when you get down there. But like, where I actually identify now is as omnisexual, which is aware of those gender distinctions and feels slightly differently about each gender, but has no particular preference for any particular gender. So it just feels like a more accurate way to describe my own sexuality, because I feel different kinds of attraction towards men and towards women, and it comes out in different ways, where like, when I see an attractive guy, I turn into the classic klutz, and I start breaking things and dropping things, and it's really frustrating actually. But around women, I tend to be more just like friendly and chill or whatever, and I feel like that's probably because I relate to them a little more easily than I do with guys, because I don't really get guys. But and non-binary people is kind of somewhere in the middle, interestingly. But like, I'm aware of those gender distinctions and I feel differently about them, which kind of makes me not a pansexual, because like, yes, I'm theoretically attracted to anyone, but there is no gender blindness. I feel differently about different genders and react differently to them. And that's not really what pansexuality is. On prior occasions, I've said that labels really don't mean anything, and I stand by that, but like, sometimes it's nice to have a label where you feel like you're in the correct place and around people that feel similarly about it how you do. And the problem that I have with bisexuality is that the name says two, and that doesn't capture it for me. And it's a good community, and most of the bi people I've spoken to do not feel this way. But for me, it just doesn't feel like the correct label to describe completely my sexuality, because I feel like I could say I'm bisexual, oh, but I actually mean that I'm attracted to any gender, but wait, I mean that there's gender distinctions, and like, I feel like just saving time on that by using the word omnisexual would be really great if anyone had ever heard of the term. And that's sort of a problem that I've had within the queer community, is that no one really knows what omnisexual is. And frankly, I think that's a lot to do with our flag. It's not particularly pretty. But, so typically I tell people that I'm pansexual, and then I say, well, technically I'm omnisexual because I'm aware of those gender distinctions, and that's an easier discussion to have. But I could also do the same from bisexuality, so I'm like, it just doesn't, and then I start thinking, does it really matter? Does it really matter? No, because I'm in a relationship that as of August will be in its 7th year, and it doesn't matter what my sexuality is, because either way, I'm monogamous and I'm in this relationship with this person, and it doesn't matter what genders I'm attracted to, because I'm not going to have any of those kinds of interactions with them. But I don't know, sometimes it's nice to know exactly what you are and how to explain that concisely to another person. So I guess I'm omnisexual. And I think that that's where I'm going to end this video. I've covered a lot of ground. So I've got a lot of exciting updates coming up. So I've got the letters coming from my doctor, so I can get my gender marker and name changed on all of my remaining documents. So that's very exciting to me. I've got the ear piercing coming up soon, so that'll be really exciting as well. I'm going to World Pride, and I will probably be making a video about that because it's a super big deal, and I'm marching in World Pride, which is like, how awesome is that? And like, I am so happy with all of the changes that have happened in my life so far. I'm 6 months in on a 5-year transition, more or less, and things are going really well. I've been full-time for a good 3 months now. I've had so many positive interactions. I've had so many neutral interactions, which are always my favorite. I've been gendered correctly. Most of the time, I don't have a problem. It's great. I'm finally feeling like my real self, and other people are picking up on it, and I'm just getting more and more comfortable each day. And yeah, sometimes I'll have a really bad day. I had one particularly really bad day last month, and it just knocked me on my ass, and I did not want to get out of bed for the rest of the day. But the next day I forced myself to get out of bed and go right back out there and do my thing, because this is who I am, and no amount of misgendering or whatever is going to keep me from doing that, because I can't help it. I really tried not to be trans for a long time, but this is who I am. I have a female brain, and I'm making the body match, and so far it's been so good. I feel really happy. I feel really super good about all of this. This transition is going well, and I'm really happy that I did it. And it's amazing how quickly you go from like, I'm not sure if estrogen is right for me, I'm not sure if HRT is right, I'm not sure if I'm trans, to if you take away my estrogen, I will kill you. And you know, it's just like night and day. It really is. Like, you know, I feel great. And I'm so happy that I've come this far. I'm really excited about everything that's to come. I'm so happy. And honestly, at the end of the day, that's what I care about. You know, I'm the one that has to live with myself. I'm the one that has to wake up every day in this body and try to feel comfortable with it. And honestly, this is the only thing that's made me feel happy in a long, long time. And I've tried everything else. I went down the path of masculinity, I went down the path of toxic masculinity. I did it all. And honestly, the only thing that's ever brought me joy in my life, in my personal life, is transitioning and being my real self and being outside in a dress and just having people understand that I'm a woman and this is who I am, and that's how my brain works, and I don't really care what anyone else has to say about it. I don't really care whether you think I'm living in sin or doing something horrible to my body. And for me, this has been the most magical time of my life. This is the best I've ever felt. I'm really happy. And getting to do that with a partner who supports me and stands by my side and is there to care for me when I need it and comfort me when I need it and just be generally the most supportive person I've ever had in my life, has been incredibly helpful and amazing, and I have a loving support system that helps me get through, and you know, my family of choice has been so supportive of me, and you know, with all that misunderstanding about, you know, getting top surgery or not, it's like they still are curious and want to support me and want to understand me, and that's a very different thing than someone saying like, oh, it's all just implants and that doesn't change anything internally and all that. Like, that's a totally different experience. You know, getting misgendered by accident is completely different from someone telling you you are not the gender that you are expressing yourself to be, and like, maliciously. And there's just a world of difference there. And I don't know, I've been so much happier. So happy. 6 months is a bit of a milestone for me, because like I said, it's one of those evenly divisible figures within the 5-year transition. And I'm just really looking forward to what the next 6 months have for me. I'm looking forward to the next 4 years after that. And I'm really looking forward to being done with my transition and just being and just getting on with my life. And that's why I'm putting such a rush on getting all this name and gender marker stuff done as quickly as possible, because I want to move on with my life. I want next year to be the year that I can stop fighting to be myself and start just being myself. And I just can't imagine how liberating that will feel. Like, I'm still gonna have to go to the doctor and get my levels checked periodically. I'm still thinking about bottom surgery, and we're not talking about that today. But like, in terms of like the legal battles, I'll be done. I'll be free. And every step I've taken so far in this transition has made me feel better, has made me feel stronger, has made me more into the person that I was born to be. I feel comfortable, I feel happy, I feel great. So that's all for today. Thank you for stopping by. I'll be back again next week with another video that I hope you will find interesting. Until then, stay curious, and again, happy Pride.